Hello and welcome to an especially late Hotline Live with Record Sport. Keith, are you still awake?
Just about. Hanging in.
Well, look, the game tonight would have kept you awake. That was nerve-shredding stuff and an incredible result for Rangers.
Daniel, what did I say to you? Was at the Celtic Bayern Munich and we did one of these late nights and I was absolutely exhausted. I didn't know if I had the energy to talk for half an hour. What about that?
I don't even know where to start.
It's incredible. It's incredible. Do you know something? I have to be honest. I thought the way Rangers set about their work for the first 35 minutes tonight, I thought they were in complete control. I thought Barry Ferguson had outmanoeuvred Mourinho again because Fenerbahce weren't really a force in the match. They weren't causing Rangers problems. It looked for the first 35 minutes as if, you know, Rangers were going to get the goal that would just about kill the tie. And then I just thought 10 minutes before the end of the first half, I don't know if Rangers started to get a bit nervous but they just came off it a little bit. And Fenerbahce started to get their foothold into the contest. And you could almost feel a goal was going to come. And then when that goes in, how does this Rangers side respond? Because they've been so brittle in terms of their confidence, their nerve, all the way through this season, especially at Ibrox. Look, we sat and spoke last night, Daniel, didn't we? Said there's so many fascinating aspects to what we're about to see here, and you just don't know what you're going to get. And that's exactly what that match was. It was all over the place. There were spells in it when Rangers were, I thought, the better side, and there were spells in it when Fenerbahce were really coming on strong, and you know they could have won it 3-0 in the 90 minutes.
Yeah.
But wow, I mean, just wow. And for it to end the way it did, to a penalty shootout, incredible stuff, just incredible. I was going to say, I'm genuinely delighted for Barry Ferguson. Obviously a colleague of ours at Record Sport, but you know, people dismissed him from the off. He's just had his first ever European tie as a manager. It was against Jose Mourinho, and he's come out on top and he's taken Rangers into a quarter-final of a European competition. Incredible, just incredible. You genuinely couldn't write this stuff.
Look, no matter which side of the divide you fall on, Barry Ferguson, a couple of weeks ago, was, you know, his chief job was a columnist for us. And now tonight he's in penalty shootout with Jose Mourinho. I mean, it's quite remarkable. And look, we'll talk a bit about the game in depth. I mean, we talked just before we come on air. I think it was towards the end of the game in the second half when Rangers went to a back four. I thought that was really important change from Ferguson, a really savvy change, because without that, I think Fenerbahce were going to get the third goal.
I think that's the change that kept Rangers in it. Absolutely. They had to do something. I wasn't sure what it was that they were going to do, but I think changing to the four, it just helped them in the middle of the pitch.
Yeah.
And I think they looked calmer when they changed to that system. You know, you just got to give immense credit.
Oh,
because
huge.
When you look at the wage bill that Fenerbahce have got, when you look at the CV that Jose Mourinho's got, for Rangers, a Rangers side that get knocked out the Scottish Cup by Queen's Park just a couple of weeks ago, for them to produce that tonight is nothing short of staggering.
Aye, that's the perfect word for it, actually. Aye,
it is. It's staggering. And by the way, they now go into this quarter-final with a realistic chance.
Aye, of course, aye.
So, yeah, just astonishing all round, staggering, and congratulations to them. It's just brilliant to see a Scottish club, you know, punch its weight in European competition, punch above its weight. Celtic had a brilliant Champions League campaign. There were some brilliant nights, some great performances. But Rangers on a Thursday night, there's just something different about them, isn't there? It's just... And by the way, do you know what my day started today? My day started today with a good old-fashioned journalistic stakeout. I was about 4 or 5 hours in Glasgow City Centre because we had a little tip-off that the would-be next Rangers owner, Andrew Kavanagh, was going to be at the game. So I had to stake out the hotel. He arrived. There was a party of 4. I think they were all at the match tonight. So for Andrew Kavanagh, and we did say this previous to the game, for Andrew Kavanagh to turn up there, bear in mind the last time he was at Ibrox was in, I think, the 12th of January, when Rangers beat St Johnstone, but fans were walking out, staging protests, calling for the board, regime change. Andrew Kavanagh was there for rock bottom. That must have felt like a very different experience for him tonight. And if that hasn't given him the bug, which I think he's already got, but I'm entirely certain that he'll have a new lease of enthusiasm for completing this takeover.
Just before we go any further on the game, if you're watching at home, please get involved in the comment section, get involved in the conversation. I've been putting comments up, as you've seen at the bottom of the screen. Our old pal Gianni, Keith, has been in touch. He says, poor Keith, he's ready for his bed and you've dragged him on this. He says, it's a shame it wasn't Roma. You and he could have flown over for a few days. Listen, Roma are out now, unfortunately, because they're out because, well, Bilbao put them out and they'll play Rangers in the quarterfinals, of course. Yeah. Look, on the game itself, right, before we go on to the quarterfinals and what it means for Barry Ferguson and what have you, the game itself, it feels really odd saying this about a 2-0 defeat, but there were so many characters in that Rangers team that I thought were colossal tonight. Suter, Balogun, and I thought Czerny just all night kept going.
Czerny was incredible.
Oh, technically he was brilliant. Every time in the ball, you could feel Fenerbahce were nervous. I thought he was excellent tonight.
I'm going to have to add in wee Conor Barron and Raskin in the middle of the park. I thought they were terrific.
And actually, sorry Keith, but remember last night we said Josie was making a big point about I didn't have Fred in the first leg. I've got Fred now, and we were like, well, if it's the same Fred at Man U, there's not much to worry about. I thought he was excellent tonight.
He was all right, said Fred, wasn't he?
He was good.
No, listen, it was just one of these games, and it reminds you why, we all sort of fell in love with football in the first place. The drama involved in that, the kind of edge of the seat stuff, the emotion, everything. And I thought Czerny looked spent, didn't he? I thought he wasn't coming back out for the second period of extra time. But he seemed to get a magic rub down and, obviously declared himself, because I think they had made the substitution. Danilo was coming on for him.
Well, I was going to say, did you happen to catch on the TV that Danilo's
reaction?
He went mad and punched the inside of the dugout, and it was announced in the tannoy that Czerny was coming off. So, not many people cancel their own subs these days, but fair play.
No, but I think, in fairness, Czerny put his hand up and said he could go again.
Aye.
And I think it would have been a real problem for Rangers in terms of the shape. To put Danilo on, what do you do? Do you put Igaman out to a wide position? And even though Czerny looked as if he had nothing left, it was the right decision. He stayed on, he carried a threat, and ultimately he took a great penalty kick when the heat was on. And, we talk about this Rangers team, we question their bottle, their character. Well, do you know what? They've kind of answered that in spades tonight for them to stand up in the crucial moment of a spot kick, a penalty shootout, to take a place in the last 8 of the Europa League. That took big bollocks. It really did. And, it was a real agonising one for Yanis Hadji.
Oh, of course.
And you think at that point, has this just turned again? Because you just can't, it's a Mourinho team, so you just can never write them off.
You never know.
But, I wonder what part Alan McGregor may have played in advising Jack Butland what way to go. He saved 2. The other one, and by the way, the other one, that guy was missing for the minute he stepped over it.
Aye.
The colour was draining from his face. He thought that I thought right away, I'm not sure this guy's even going to get it on target. At that point, Rangers finally, after 2 legs, extra time, and 8 penalty kicks, whatever it was, they'd finally broken them. They'd finally broken their resolve. And, I'm looking forward, obviously we're on live, I'm looking forward to going and seeing what Jose Mourinho's reaction is to this, how Barry Ferguson deals with it. I think he's dealt with all the sort of fronting up really well up to this point. So yeah, it'll be fascinating, because I think Mourinho had a little word in his ear before the first leg started over in Istanbul, and I wonder if Barry had something to say back to him tonight after that.
Aye. Well, look,
Fascinating.
it was really fascinating. We've got a lot of comments coming in. I feel like I should put this one up. John Part says, rolling Bilbao, but he also follows it up with Tav with some brilliant tackles tonight. And I do feel like for a season where James Tavernier, sometimes rightly so, has taken a lot of criticism as the Rangers captain. I mean, if you think back to the opening Old Firm game of the season, he was hounded, into Ibrox, if you remember, when the team bus came back, along with Philip Clement. I thought, again, he was outstanding tonight. And you kind of need to give him credit when it's due if you're going to slaughter him like that. I think he was... there was that penalty late on that Fenerbahce wanted. And I have to admit, looking at it, I thought, that looks like a penalty. It was spot on. Aye, an immense tackle. So, I think he deserves a few pats in the back tonight.
I think you're absolutely right, and it was remiss of me not to mention him at the start there, because he was another one really outstanding. And this is a guy, by the way, at his age, who's learning to play a new position.
Aye.
Right at the three. Now, I know that towards the end of the game, he was back to his more orthodox right back role, but he didn't put a foot wrong when he was in the three, and the same goes for Istanbul. He was excellent over there as well. I think that he's displayed more leadership qualities in the last week or so than we've seen in a long time from him. I wonder if he's getting some sort of buzz, or he looks reinvigorated. He looks like his confidence was shot to bits under Philip Clement. But there's a few of them there that look to be sort of plugging into whatever it is that they're getting from Barry Ferguson and this backroom team. They look re-energised. There's a different sort of belief, a different work ethic to them. And this is the weird thing, they get beat 2-0 tonight on their own pitch. Yeah. And it's the first time in the history that Rangers have lost 4 games on the bounce at Ibrox. But, I think the Rangers fans will be able to swallow that one, given the way it's all worked out. But yeah, the one thing that Barry Ferguson promised when he went in was that he would improve them, that he would up their energy levels, he would up the intensity, and you've seen it. And, even though they get beat on their own pitch tonight, there was enough there that you say, well, that simply wasn't capable under Clement.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have produced that sort of spirited performance. And by the way, fair play to them, because they did the hard work in the first leg, didn't they?
Aye. Well, the comment on the screen that you can see at home, Lewis Aitken's asking, do you think Rangers played better in the first leg or the second leg? And look, right off the bat, it kind of feels to me like the first leg was more impressive. But actually, as it's kind of sinking in now, I don't know if tonight was kind of... I know they lost 2-0, but to get through in the manner they did, I don't know.
Daniel, I think, it's a difficult one, because, as we've said, this is a Rangers side that has been so flaky, so lacking in resilience, so vulnerable and nervous on their own pitch, and incompetent in games. So for them to be pushed to the wire, to go 2-0 down at home to Fenerbahce, knowing what was on the line, and to respond and to dig deep and to find something within themselves, to drag themselves over that finishing line. That's, there's something impressive about that, even, albeit they did actually lose over the course of the 90 minutes. Look, do you know what? We billed it last night. We said anything could happen here, and anything did happen. Everything did happen. That was just another mental Thursday night. Yeah.
Well, look, we mentioned at the top of the show that when Barry Ferguson was appointed, so many people pointing to his managerial CV. He couldn't do it at Clyde, he couldn't do it at Alloa. A lot of Celtic fans jumping on it. This is going to be funny, this is going to be great. Look, you have to give him proper credit now for this tonight. But I wanted to get your take, Keith, on where does this leave him now in terms of the job? Because I said before the tie, I said if you can put Jose Mourinho out for my money, he's kind of got one foot in the job. Would you go that far? Or?
I think he's certainly become a really legitimate candidate for it. I think Brendan Rodgers would have been sitting there quite happy tonight watching the kind of energy levels that Rangers had to put into that, and knowing that they've got just a couple of days now to try and rest up and get themselves ready to go across the city at Celtic Park on Sunday. And I still think as massive an achievement as that is for Barry Ferguson and for Rangers tonight, the thought of a trip across the city is dangerous, isn't it? If Barry Ferguson has got designs on this job, ambitions to take it on, and I do believe that's exactly what he's got. If he goes to Celtic Park and takes a real sole one, then that could be a bit of a setback. But as I said, and I said for a reason, about the stakeout today and knowing that Andrew Kavanagh was in town, that's huge. I really think that's huge, because Andrew Kavanagh, Parag Marathi, the chairman of Leeds United, who wasn't there, but is sort of a right-hand man at Leeds, did make the trip to Glasgow tonight. They'll have had their own ideas for a while about, preconceived ideas, what way they were going to go. Barry Ferguson's just changed all that, or at least thrown a spanner in the works. And if he can go to Celtic Park, and I don't think, as Brian Laudrup said the other day, I don't think he needs to win at Celtic Park. I think it's even acceptable if they lose. But if he can turn in a performance, if he can get a tune out of them, if he can make them competitive, then I think he's really thrown his hat in the ring for this job.
Because the thing that Ferguson has over any other potential candidate is that, okay, he's got Mourinho out, and if he gets the result on Sunday, that's one thing. But the Rangers fans adore him. They absolutely love him. No other candidate could boast that.
I think they do, but see a lot of Rangers fans that seem to be, they don't like the idea of Barry Ferguson getting the job for the long haul, which is entirely their prerogative. But when you hear a guy like Brian Laudrup saying Rangers are missing their DNA, it's got lost somewhere, and it's ripping out of Barry Ferguson and his backroom team. And I think they've managed to get something into the players that they've got there that Clement was, he walked into the wrong movie. He didn't get it. These guys absolutely get it. And I think tactically they're showing that, it's not, they're not just going in because, they would be season ticket holders. If that weren't the case, they're actually showing that they're quite astute. Their instructions are sinking into the players, and the players are starting, I think, to believe in them. So I think that'll need to feed into whatever decision that the next owners have in mind, because, as I said, Andrew Kavanagh was there for that St Johnstone game, witnessed rock bottom and felt what it felt like. He's there the other night. That's the polar opposite. Place absolutely bouncing. You're right, Ferguson has this connection with the supporters. Of course, the Americans have to see that for themselves, because big decision now. Would you take him out and put somebody in that the fans aren't going to connect with? Do you go down another sort of route, which Rangers have been doing for so long now, which is, guys that talk a good game, guys that have their PowerPoint presentations and coaching manual jargon, or do you go with this sort of unpolished authenticity that Barry Ferguson and his little band of coaching staff clearly provide? And this seems to be working for Rangers. So, it becomes a difficult decision. Do you decide, in spite of the evidence in front of your eyes, to go a different way? I don't know. But I do know that from, a guy who was just brought in, a guy who a couple of weeks ago wrote a column for the Daily Record and went to holiday quite a lot. He's now put himself in a really strong position in terms of being a serious candidate for this job for the long haul.
Marzuno in the comment section, I know, is a Celtic fan, saying, we adore Hoopy, but it doesn't mean we'll make him manager. Point taken, but Hoopy hasn't just seen off Jose Mourinho. That's my point. Raymond says this, Keith. He says, I know what Keith's saying, but the players will be buzzing for Parkhead now. If they got beat tonight, then it would be a fearful journey. And actually,
I think the point on that, Raymond, Daniel, that took some amount of energy out of the legs there tonight.
That's fair, yeah.
There was a couple of guys looked as if they were carrying, God knows what kind of state Czerny's going to be in for the weekend, because he really emptied his tank there. So it's going to be a case of trying to patch people up, rub downs, the whole kind of rest and recuperation, because they won't be able to train much between now and Sunday, that's for sure. It might actually be about carrying out a head count to find out, who's available, who's able to go again on Sunday, and that will present Barry Ferguson with a whole different set of problems if he can't get anywhere near close to putting out what he would think his best 11 is for that match.
Just on the game very quickly again before we round up, Unite Forever says they had 2 clear penalties. I think he's referring to Fenerbahce. Says the ref butchered the game. Did you?
I think the ref was good.
You didn't think he was good?
No, I didn't enjoy the referee's performance tonight.
A lot of yellow cards thrown about. Yeah,
needlessly. I thought he had. He was one of these referees that looks very school teachery. The way he was. In fact, he was kind of the way he was speaking to Rangers players was very school teachery. He seemed to be a lot more sort of warm towards the Fenerbahce players. I didn't rate his performance, but there was no terrible decisions made.
Did you think any of the penalties? Do you think they were all the correct call? I think there was 3 Fenerbahce wanted. That one in the first half,
I don't think any of them were penalty kicks.
Aye, I agree.
No, I think you got them right, to be fair to them. And they were throwing themselves about a bit, weren't they? The one late on, was it Raskin? Just about a yard inside the penalty box.
Yep, it was Raskin.
I wondered about that until I saw it in slow motion, and it was clear that the Fenerbahce player had kind of thrown himself to the ground. But it did, because Raskin was half a second late into that tackle, and I thought that could have been a penalty kick. If he had awarded the penalty kick, I don't think VAR would have reversed it. So that was quite a big moment. So maybe Rangers did get a break there.
Yeah. Right, a couple of comments, Keith, before I'll let you go to your bed. John tells us to get a grip. Rangers get beat 2-0 at home and scraped through in penalties. Penalty shootouts are a lottery. Barry shouldn't get the job regardless of tonight's result. And do you know what I thought was interesting, Keith? James Tavernier. Go on, sorry.
John's a Celtic fan, isn't he?
I think there might be a chance he is. But I too thought, Alan McGregor's going to have a big say in the shootout. James Tavernier came on the telly just before we come on live and said we didn't practice once this week, which I thought was really interesting.
Well, I wonder if they were kind of taking it for granted that they wouldn't need to go to penalty kicks, which
maybe aye.
But do you know what? Did Alan McGregor have a part to play in that? You would like to think that as the goalkeeping coach that he would have done the homework in terms of where the penalty kicks were likely to go. It'll be interesting to find out in the aftermatch stuff if anybody does give Alan McGregor credit or if he just left it down to Jack Butland to decide. But do you know what? Alan McGregor's was a top class goalkeeper. I'm not sure that Alan McGregor would have wanted somebody in his ear, before he went into a shootout like that. He'd have probably just wanted to kind of make his own mind up, do his own things. So who knows? But Butland did really well. So 2 saved, 1 over the top, and just a monumental ending to a monumental tie over the 2 legs.
All right, and just before we finish, right, John Park writes in saying, is it written in the stars for us to reach another final? Now, Rangers take on Athletic Bilbao in the next round, the quarterfinals. The first leg is on April the 10th. Of course, the final is in Bilbao Stadium.
Yeah.
Look, I realise I'm asking you how long is a piece of string. I'm not asking you to look into a crystal ball. But look, can Rangers go further than the quarterfinals?
I actually suspect that they might. Look, I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert on Atletico Bilbao. I mean, they've obviously had a great result over 2 legs to knock Roma out. So there'll be no mugs. That's for sure. But it's not like one of the European giants that Rangers are about to go into, where you would give them no chance. This is the sort of opponent that Rangers have been dealing with consistently over an extended period of time with various different managers. They seem, whatever it is about Thursday nights, it brings the best out of them. And if you look back at the list of teams that Rangers have dealt with in this competition, Atletico Bilbao wouldn't. I don't think they'd feature in the top 4 or 5.
I think that's fair, eh?
So yeah, can they go further? And do you know something? Having been a veteran now of going with Celtic to Seville, Rangers to Manchester, then Rangers getting to Seville, there comes a point on these runs where you start to think anything is possible. And I think we've just reached that point tonight for Rangers. Anything is possible here.
Well, Chris Fraser, who is a Celtic fan, writes in saying Bilbao will ride them like Seabiscuit, which I thought was quite funny. I guess we'll see on that regard. Just one final thing to say on that quarter-final tie. I think it's unlucky for Rangers they're at home first on April the 10th and away for the second leg. Normally, like tonight, when the second leg's at Ibrox, that really, I feel, always sways it in Rangers balance. But we'll see how it goes. Keith, thanks so much for joining me on another edition of the Late Night Hotline Live with Record Sport.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, they've had some shift out of me today, running about doing stakeouts in the town centre. Then what time are we at just now?
11:30, that's all.
11:30, right, I can finally go to my bed.
Aye. Listen, you're no hero, don't worry about it. We'll be back on Sunday to talk over another huge game, Celtic versus Rangers at Celtic Park. I'm already looking forward to it.
What time are we doing that, Daniel?
I believe we agreed around 4:30. 4:30, was it?
Was it 4:30? I thought. Right, well, we'll need to confer on this.
We should have talked about this.
Yeah, I think maybe 4 o'clock. But
4 o'clock. Do you know what? 4 o'clock sounds perfect to me. 4 o'clock.
Yeah, so
perfect. There you go. So you can join us, or we hope you can join us on Sunday, 4 p.m. for all the fallout from that game. Keith, you have a lovely sleep.
Fully intended.
And we'll see you and hopefully all the viewers on Sunday. Thanks for watching.
Cheers, Dan.